Here are two guys, Lyle, in our first segment here today that are available. We have two kind of matching franchises here, dog, that could do a transaction here as we propose in this episode. The Twins are doing much what the Mariners are doing this offseason. They're trying to shed payroll. They've lost, I believe, their Bally Sports deal, and they're trying to shed $20 to $25 million off their payroll. And they're listing two soon-to-be free agents in Max Kepler and Jorge Polanco as casualties of that. Both of them cost around $10 million each. And again, both are free agents after the 2024 season. Let's start with Max Kepler. I think he's the favorite among both of us. I think he's the better defender of the two. He's an outfielder. You have a need in the outfield right now. And he's coming off his best offensive season of his career. So, Lyle, what do you think of the German Max Kepler? Does he fit on the Mariners?
He does, because they need outfielders. As we've said, the corner outfield spots right now are totally up in the air. And Kepler is not just a proven big leaguer, but a big leaguer who has had a track record of some success. Now, he's not going to be the flashy guy that you could go out and get. He's not Randy Arozarena, but he would help the lineup. What did we say back when we highlighted Lourdes Gurriel, who, by the way, is now off the board? We said if Lourdes Gurriel is about the third best bat they'd sign all winter, we'd say, great, sign us up for that. That's about how I feel about Max Kepler. Now, it's probably not going to happen now, as we've seen the way this offseason has gone. But if it was to go our way, I would say if Max Kepler was the third best bat they signed all winter, great, sign us up. His Savant page was really good this past year. He hit the ball very hard. You mentioned it was his best offensive year, 24% above league average as a hitter. He does have some power, and he doesn't look like the world's greatest defender, just off like your first look, but he does play good defense in the corner outfield spots. He can really defend out there. So if you want to take all those things into account, along with the fact he shouldn't cost a whole ton in a trade, yeah, I'd be interested. Again, this is not the flashy move. I don't think this is going to inspire World Series confidence into the fan base, but it would be a move that makes him better.
It's not the flashy move, but it definitely is a move that makes you better given what the Mariners have in the outfield. Of a significant emphasis this past season to hit the ball a lot harder. He used to be a guy who would make a point to walk over 10% of the time, and then he'd keep his strikeout rate well below 20%. Well, this past season, he essentially sold out for a little bit more power, and it benefited his offense. As we mentioned, he did have one of his better WRC pluses of his career, 124. And more importantly, he did it outside of the juice ball season. He's really only had two good offensive seasons, and one of them was 2019. And for some of these guys, you can just kind of throw 2019 out the door, like Max Kepler, who hit 36 home runs in 2019. You're like, Max Kepler hit 36 home runs? Yeah, maybe there was something up with the ball there, Rob. Anyways, but he made an emphasis. He hit the ball harder. He had better expected numbers this past season than he did in 2019. And it was by a pretty significant margin, too. And you have all that on top of the fact he doesn't have the Teoscar Hernandez strikeout problems or the Teoscar Hernandez walk problems. Like, his quote-unquote down walk years are 9%. Like, you take that. That's still above league average.
Oh, you 100% take it. I will say, when he hit the 36 bombs in 2019, that was part of that Twins team that was just mashing homers left and right. You know what Mitch Garver did that year? The guy hit 31 bombs in just over 90 games played. Like, talk about a juice ball.
But there was nothing wrong, Lyle. Nothing was up with the ball.
No, they didn't do anything. And then, home runs magically went down. I'm sure it was a coincidence. The only thing about Kepler is, again, we talked about he's really only had two good offensive seasons. He had one other year where his WRC plus was just under 110, which is a fine year offensively. It's not the world's greatest season, but it's not, again, it was above average. But he also has some years where he's really struggled. And when we say struggled, his WRC plus sits in the 90 to 95-ish range, which is not great. That's not what the Mariners would be signing up for. However, we will say, if Max Kepler came to Seattle and put up a 95 WRC plus, it is a lot better than what AJ Pollock did. So in some ways, it's an upgrade. It's just the bar's not set very high when you're looking at it that way.
And he's not going to cost that much. He really won't. He's plus 30 with 1 year of control. And the Mariners would not probably give him a contract beyond. I doubt it. I really doubt they would give him a contract beyond next season if they were going to trade for him. So they would the trade package would be appropriate for that. So there's really, like, if he gives you a 95 WRC plus, the capital you gave up for that really isn't that bad.
What do you think they give up? Because it's certainly not one of the young arms, and by that we mean Wu or Miller. Honestly, I don't even think it would cost Emerson Hancock, because that's still a starting pitcher who's pitched in the big leagues with 6 years of control. I don't think that's what the Twins would get back for Max Kepler. I think you're getting some guys deeper into their pipeline out of the minor league system for him. Or maybe like a fringe big leaguer. Maybe, I don't know, Cade Marlowe.
The Twins do need pitching because they lost Maeda and Sonny Gray in this offseason. So if they were going to stick to their guns in pitching, like you said, the Mariners are not going to offer big league pitching. They're going to offer pitching. I mean, they might just go way down in their minor league system and trade a lottery pick, like trade a lottery chip for if you're like, hey, you want upside? Here's some upside. Here's Cole Phillips. Have Cole Phillips if you want a true like, hey, he could work out for you really well in like 5 seasons. But the Mariners are not going to trade big league pitching for Max Kepler, because I really just don't think Max Kepler's worth that much, as productive as he is as a hitter. And what's really odd about Max Kepler's profile is he's only worth about, in his peak seasons, about 2.5 wins, which, when you're like, okay, so that must mean he's a bad defender. No, he's graded out plus actually in all three outfield spots. Well, he's got some holes in his offensive game. Well, when he clicks, not really. He doesn't really have issues there. If there's one place you could poke a hole in, he was a dog shit base runner this year. I mean, terrible. So in that case, I mean, you really wouldn't be that much change from Teoscar Hernandez.
I was going to say, he'd fit right in with this whole team.
There we go. They could all learn together.
Yeah. I don't think this second guy would cost all that much in a trade package either. Before we get to that guy, let's hear a quick word from our friends over at Pagach's Pub 85. That's Pagach's Pub 85 in Kirkland. It's one of our favorite places to go to hang out with our friends, to eat some food, drink some great drinks, and watch the games. It's a great spot to go watch all the football games going on right now. We know December is winding down, meaning the NFL season's getting more and more juicy as every week goes on. We got the college football playoff coming up. We got bowl season coming up. You can sit, hang out at a great spot with your friends, watch the games there. And if you pick the key hours, you can get some really good deals on some drinks. What are they? It's Monday through Friday from 2 to 6 p.m. The happy hours over at Pagach's Pub 85. And it includes $3 domestic beers, $4 Manny's Blue Moons, $4 Mac and Jacks, $4 Wells, and $4 house wines. Try some of that. Any of those drinks you might desire. Try some of their great pizza. Go hang out with your friends over at Pagach's Pub 85 in Kirkland. Second guy, also a Minnesota Twin, Jorge Polanco, guy who would fit some infield needs for this team. Also 1 year left on his contract. How do you view him?
Well, I view him, you're going to get a good amount of power with him if you do trade for him. He is going to be someone who brings thump into your infield. And I think that's probably where you got to set it at, because he's not going to come in and be an all-world defender in the infield. He's been a pretty poor defender for his career. But with 1 year of control at $10.5 million, if you're trying to dig into his offense and you can look past the strikeout trends a little bit from last season, I think he could be a true impact bat in this lineup. Is he my preferred of these two? Absolutely not. I told you at the beginning, 100% take Max Kepler over him. But his quality of contact is good. His exit velocities are fine, but he barrels the ball a lot and he lifts it a lot. He's made much more of an emphasis in the last couple of seasons to do that, as well as getting on base a whole lot more, which they could also use on that infield. That walk rate the last 2 seasons for Polanco has been very, very good. And the Mariners want to think that they would be getting Polanco on a little bit of a discount. He missed a lot of time last year with hamstring injuries and a knee injury that they think perhaps affected his season and in fact let his strikeout rate balloon up a little bit, which has actually been one of his strengths for his career. So the price would be very similar of Max Kepler for Jorge Polanco. You're buying probably a little bit more upside with Polanco and expecting that he will have a very good offensive season somewhere in the middle of your lineup, maybe not smack in the middle, but maybe in the back half of your lineup, and could be a very, very solid contributor for a not very high price.
Yeah, maybe a guy out of the 6th spot, which you look at his strikeouts, if you really believe injuries played into that, and you take out 2023, where, okay, he struck out more than he has in his career, but it wasn't astronomical. He struck out about 25% of the time, which is a lot less than a lot of guys on this team were doing last year. Other than that, he's never eclipsed the 20% mark in any full season he's played in the big league. This is not a guy that strikes out a lot. In a lot of ways, he fits what the Mariners would be looking for, combined with the power, combined with the ability to play infield. The only caveat here is, like you mentioned, he's just not a very good fender. But there are things to like about Polanco, and if you need offense and a guy that's not going to strike out a ton, he could fit those needs.
He's consistent 4 seasons in a row of a 118 WRC plus. There's not a guy on the Mariners roster who's done that.
No, not at all. And like, again, he didn't have the greatest 2020, but what do we say? We throw that out the window for just about every guy. Other than that, most of his career, he has been pretty consistent at the plate, and consistency is something this team needs very badly on the offensive side of the ball. And yeah, he has some power. You don't find that many second basemen with real power. Like Jorge Polanco's had a year in his career where he popped 33 home runs. That's pretty good. So that was just a year ago too, in 22. So I would sign up for that guy. It would probably mean you swing Rojas over to third and you split time with Urias there. Instead of those two platooning at second base, you platoon at third, and then you have Polanco play second base. But there's a way to work that out and improve your offense if you were to be interested in Polanco. So I think they should be interested in both guys. I'm probably with you that I prefer Kepler, but my ears are open to either.
And Kepler's got a clear spot now. Like, there are wide open spots for Kepler to play every single day in the outfield. Polanco's a guy you go for if you truly don't think Ryan Bliss should be playing in the big leagues this season. Flat out. They've talked quite a lot about how they are expecting Ryan Bliss to be a factor in this 2024 season at the big league level. But there's no spot for Ryan Bliss if you trade for Jorge Polanco, because Ryan Bliss does not play shortstop, not at the big league level, and he's not going to play third base at the big league level either. He's going to be a second baseman when he's in the big leagues. And Polanco's good defensive position is at second base. It's not at short, and it's not at third. He's been a very subpar defender in his career on the left side of the infield, so you probably want to keep him on the right side. And that $10.5 million for Polanco, for that offense you're going to get, it's really not that much money, not for some of the numbers we've seen in this offseason.
And Bliss might get up mid-season. I don't think he's going to be on the team opening day. I just don't. I think he struggled in Tacoma a little bit. I think he still needs some time to develop. But he could be up mid-season, and if that happens, you figure it out then. Because if he's truly ready, that's a good thing. But yes, I think you'd make this trade on the idea that Ryan Bliss is not going to start the year on the opening day roster, which is what I'd figure anyway. I think he'll spend some more time down in Tacoma before he gets up to the show. But hey, you want to throw out some optimism. Polanco's another guy with only 1 year left on his deal. Is it a 1 year stopgap for Munetaka Murakami? Or you want to push that narrative?
Do you want to push it a little bit further? Do you want to listen to our Jeff Baker interview first?
No, I don't, because after people listen to that, they're going to say, wow, what the hell are you talking about, Munetaka Murakami? They're not even going to give him a fraction of the money he's going to be looking for.
Could we offer him Root Sports? He could be the sole owner.
That sounds great. If he's
big upside buy.
Yeah. Hey, put it as a clause in his contract. They say, listen, if Murakami hits 40 plus bombs here at T-Mobile Park, you get full ownership stake in Root Sports. Again, there's escalators in the contract.
Yeah, escalators in the contract, and think of it as a growing investment. It goes nowhere but up.
Yes, I like that idea. They need somebody to sell Root Sports to, and they also seem to be unwilling to put talent on the field. What if you just combine the best of both worlds? You offer it to a player, and if he plays well, stake just goes up. Team plays better, everybody wins.
I like your thinking, Lau. Let's fly over to Japan. We'll vlog the whole thing. We'll do some content for the podcast. We'll bring that to Murakami's people, and we'll see how the idea resonates.
That sounds great. Listen, I don't know who else is going to be offering him ownership in a regional sports network deal or a TV deal. So, listen, Murakami, you're not getting a better deal than that. So, you might as well take it.
And don't ask if we have the legal authority to dish out either the Mariners' money or Root Sports. Just don't ask that. Just trust us. I think you could trust us.